Hey, sports fans, PB&Z, sports chaos. And we're in that period of time where there's nothing going on in sports other than the ESPYs last night, right? Baseball just
Well,
coming off the All-Star break.
Wimbledon, little Wimbledon action too.
Yes, yes. Hey, by the way, Julio Rodriguez, and you and I did not pick him. He didn't win, but 41 home runs in the first round. Are you kidding me?
I know I watched some of it. It was pretty impressive.
It was impressive. You know what? I felt bad for the kid from Baltimore, Adley Rushman. I don't know how you say his name, but
Oh yeah,
the kid
that,
switched hit in the middle of his round. That was unbelievable.
yeah. I tell you, it's the format's different, right? They just swing away like before. If you didn't hit it out, it was considered an out, right? If it didn't go
Yeah,
out of the
yeah.
park and you swung and you only had 10 outs, you got to hit as many home runs as you could.
Right.
Now it's just like it's a straight fire pitch after pitch, and you're like swinging that bat so many times in a short period of time. It's tiring.
Hey, by the way, I heard a good recommendation because JD Martinez made this comment to Mookie. If only I could tag in for you. So imagine this in the future.
Tag.
Off the home run hitting contest, you could tag in for your teammate and take the last whatever, 30 seconds, whatever, to hit the
Yeah.
ball. That's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. I hope MLB adopts that. We'll see.
Yeah, like the old days of wrestling with the tag teams.
Yes, yes. Oh, that would be so awesome. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
All right, man, we're going to talk a little football. We get the NFC North Division, the NFC Norris Division, as Chris Berman used to call it, or the Black and Blue Division, as a lot of people call it. By the way, there's no Aaron Rodgers this year, so this might be the really blue division after all. PB,
Yeah.
I don't know what you saw, but I saw some different stuff over and under between DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars. I think every team is like 7.5 games, so 6.5 for the most part. Am I right?
Yeah, I think it's seven. I had 7.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5. So they're all right in there. I mean, this is the new NFC South of past, right? Where you had right, we had every team basically trying to get to 500, and the winner of the division makes the playoffs with like an 8-9 record or a 7-10 record. Like that's what we could be looking at here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's start with the Bears first of all. They got Justin Fields. He showed real improvement last year, at least running the ball. I
Yeah.
don't think they give him any weapons though. He's not really got any improvements in the offense, in my opinion. So what do you think?
Yeah. Well, they got DJ Moore from Carolina, but he's not like an elite top end receiver type of thing.
No,
And
I will say this: the Chase Claypool now that he's going to be there for a whole year with training camp, that might make a difference. We'll see.
yeah, and they got rid of Montgomery, so Khalil Herbert could be leading that backfield. They drafted a kid, Roshan Johnson, that might help that offense a little bit, but it's all Fields. I mean, this whole team is really Fields, and
Yeah.
I don't even know if their defense is going to be that good. I don't
No,
have
I'm not sure either. Yeah.
yeah. So and then but their schedule's not too bad. They got some
No, but
tough
they got the
games.
AFC West, so there's
They got
probably
right.
they could easily go 0-4 there, or no better than 2-2. They ain't beating Vegas. I mean, they ain't beating KC and they ain't beating the Chargers.
Right, right. And then you got Minnesota and Detroit twice a piece, which to even try to split those might be tough for them. And then they could, of course, split with Green Bay potentially. But, there's probably only 2 wins in that division at
Yeah,
best.
I'm with you. I got them the winnable games in my mind. A one game of Green Bay at Washington. I think they could split with Minnesota, Vegas, Carolina, Arizona, Atlanta. So
Yeah.
it maybe 8 games at best. I don't
Yeah.
think so.
I got them at 6-11, which is a game and a half under their under overs at 7.5. So I'm not as high on them as Vegas is. So where do you have them coming in?
I got them at 7-10. I think they,
Okay.
the schedule is not that bad compared to some of the other teams in this division. It's a little more favorable because they didn't play well last year, obviously, so they got a better
You have the
seeding,
last
right?
place schedule. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's true.
So all right, so you got them at 6-11. I got them at 7-10.
Yeah.
All right. The Detroit, they were 98 last year, first time over 500, and I don't know, forever, right?
You're right.
But
Right.
they added some players in the draft. I found this interesting because this is going to be interesting over the next 3 teams we talk about. They added two players from Alabama. The running back Jamar Gibbs, I think you had him high on your draft board. The safety Brian Branch, who I had high, didn't go to the 4th round. In between, they added a linebacker Jack Campbell from Iowa and a linebacker, a tight end from Iowa, Sam Laporta. Get the drift here, 2-2, right?
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But they do lose Jameson Williams from the betting scandals going on in the NFL right now, right?
Yeah, it's not a full year though, right?
I think he's 6 games, correct?
6 games. Yeah, yeah.
That's a big knock though.
Yeah, and their previous tight end that they gave to Minnesota, T.J. Hawkinson, was also from Iowa. So they have a thing for these Iowa schools.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got this team right now just sniffing their under over, which is 9.5, which makes them the favorite to win the division because all the other teams are less than that. I got them at 10-7, so just getting over that by a half a game. Schedule's kind of tough. You know, they open up at KC, then they got to play Seattle at home. Those are 2 tough games right off the bat.
I got them 0-2 in those 2 games.
Yeah, Atlanta at Green Bay, Carolina at Tampa are all winnable games.
I get those. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
You know, at Baltimore's tough. Vegas at home.
Vegas at home.
Not a gimme.
Favorable.
Yeah, they got to go at the Chargers. They got to go at New Orleans and Chicago in back-to-back weeks later, and then at Minnesota. The thing for them is the end, right? At Minnesota, at Dallas, and then Minnesota at home. Those are 3 tough games. 2 of them against division opponent. They probably will both be in the race for that division at that point in time. So they're either going to split and stay tied, or one of those teams is going to sweep and win the division. This could come down to the final week, in my opinion. That game at home against Minnesota will determine who wins that division. But I do have them going 10-7. I think they got enough talent to go 10-7.
So I've got them at 9. And the only way they get 10, in my opinion, they got to sweep one divisional opponent. I got them splitting everybody, but if they sweep one of them, then they go 10.
Yeah, well, they showed us what they can do last year up in Green Bay in that last game of the year. So
agreed.
That was with Rodgers.
Yeah, yes, it was. All right. So let's go. Speaking of Rodgers, let's go to Green Bay. By the way, it's all about the love in Green Bay this year. Can he take command, right? Day one. By the way, they lost weapons, right? A few guys already jumped ship and went to the Jets to play with Rodgers. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Their over-under I see is 7.5. Is that correct?
It is 7.5, and I have them right there too, just a tad under at 7 and 10. You know, I still think with Love, and you still have that great backfield with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, right? That's a good dual threat there at running back. They drafted Jalen Reed, Jaden Reed, I should say. He could add to that, offensive wide receiver room. They did keep Dobbs. Dobbs showed me a few flashes of.
I got that. Yes, that's like Dobbs and Chris Watson both at the end of the year showed flashes. So.
Yep. Yeah. And Dobbs got hurt. So he was showing flashes actually early, got hurt, came back, and then kind of worked his way back in. And then I was going to finish it off, like you said, with Watson, who I think could potentially find himself in he's going to be a solid wide receiver 1 on that team. So I think they can do some stuff on offense. They'll win some games.
By the way, you mentioned them earlier when we were talking about Detroit. They got T.J. Hawkinson for a whole year now in training camp and everything, right?
Not Green Bay.
That's Minnesota. I'm sorry, never mind. I take that back. I'm looking at Minnesota. All right.
Okay. So at the end of the day, I have them 7 and 10. There's just too many tough games on the schedule,
I got them losing to Chicago. Obviously, I got them losing. Well, splitting the division all the way around. They lose in Vegas. They're going to lose to the Rams. They're going to go to Denver. They're going to go to Pittsburgh. They play KC, which is a loss no matter where it's played at. They're going to. Oh, here's the interesting one. They go to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers gets to play Green Bay at the Jets.
Is it the Jets or the Giants? I had them at the Giants. Is that like
they're playing the Jets?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I got them 7 and 10.
All right. Well, I have them 7 and 10 as well. So
by the way, if either Detroit or Minnesota sweeps them, then they're 6 and 11. So easily they're 6 and 11.
Okay, but right now you're on the record saying 7 and 10, which would tie them with the Bears, because the Bears you also have at 7 and 10.
Yeah, and
we got I got Detroit at 10 and 7. You have them at 9 and 8, so that leaves Minnesota. Who you got?
Minnesota, by the way, Minnesota. Let's talk about that from a second. They were 13 and 4 last year. they had a pretty good offense, but they gave up Dalvin Cook, and on paper, I don't see a replacement for Dalvin Cook. I forget the running back's name. I can't even think of his name. Oh, Jordan Addison.
They're RB1 right now. Yeah.
I don't. He doesn't. He's not a Dalvin Cook.
Right. And they drafted a kid McBride at running back who may find his way onto the field and see what he can do as a rookie. But yeah, I'm with you.
Speaking of the draft, maybe. So speaking about the theme of this division, taking two guys from the same school. By the way, they took 4 pretty good guys in my mind. They got wide receiver Jordan Addison from USC,
yep.
DB Mekhi Blackman from USC. Both those are solid. I mean, both of them I think are going to be studs. And then they got a safety and a defensive tackle from LSU. I forget the names, but the safety was considered a high draft. High pick for safety.
Yeah.
So it's interesting they picked 2 and 2, similar to 2 other teams in the division.
Yeah, yeah, and I do like the wide receiver room now with Addison added there on the other side of JJ, and then KJ Osborne. He had some really good games last year. I'm not gonna, put that guy down either.
Well, you just made a good point. If you're playing opposite of Justin Jefferson, right, you should flourish. And Addison is gonna flourish next to him, guaranteed.
Right.
At the end of the day.
And don't forget, you still have Hawkinson, as you were mentioning before.
So So Hawkinson with a full season, training camp, and everything.
Yeah,
that's a loaded, receiver room at the end of the day, right?
Yep. And I do have them, battling this division with Detroit really to see. And I said it's going to come down to that last game, I think.
But they have a tough schedule because of their record last year, right?
Right. Yeah, they do. And they play, here's what's going to be the test of time for them. Can they beat the big teams? Right. They have in their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, they have at Philly, KC, and San Francisco. Those 3 games, if they can show us that they're capable of winning the big game against a big opponent, right? Yeah. And granted, KC's in the other conference, but Philly and San Francisco in particular, because those are going to be conference games that are going to matter. But I don't see them winning those games. I don't see.
They open with Philadelphia, who's coming off a Super Bowl season at Philadelphia, right?
Right. And KC, like you said, is always tough. And so that's why I don't have them with a good record. I mean, I have them at 9-8. At the end, I think they'll split Detroit. I could see Detroit even maybe sweeping them in 2 of those last 3, depending on who's the hot team coming into that last stretch of the season. At Vegas and Denver isn't gimmies either for this team.
Yeah, the 2 weaker teams in the AFC West, they have to go there at the end of the day because they got Chargers and they got KC, as you already mentioned. They probably still lose them even though they're at the home, and they have to go to Denver, which is a tough road game in Vegas, right? Which everybody wants to go to.
Right. And speaking of Vegas knows that too, because their under over is 8.5. So they're actually predicting this team to finish under 500. I mean, if you think about it, right?
I'm going to give them 10-7. You got a 9-8. You're probably right. I'm probably being a little bit gracious giving them 10-7. Somebody's going to be in double digits, but maybe no one does, right?
So you got Minnesota because it's the opposite. I have Detroit at 10-7, and you have them at 9-8. So we have them just kind of flip flop there at the top of the division. But the thing is, 9-8 might not get you in. Even though 7 teams get in now, it's 9-8 might not get you in.
Well, if you win the division, you get in.
Right. No, but I'm saying if your prediction comes through and
yeah. No, PB. There's not 2 teams coming around this division. No way in hell.
Okay.
It ain't happening. I mean, very easily. Very. I mean, we're being very kind, but very easily they could all be under 8 and 9 and less.
Yeah, but the only argument I'll make with that is the NFC isn't that strong. After you get past San Francisco.
No, but when you look at these divisions that have to play AFC opponents, I mean, that's where there's a couple of these divisions that have to play tough matchups against the AFC. They could lose 8 games right there.
If they could. I'm just saying that a 9-8 team could get into the playoffs as a 7 seed in the NFC. It's possible.
It is possible. Correct. Yeah, it is. It is. I think at the end of the day, I mean, NFC East, we'll talk about that another day, but that's probably the one that's going to, if anybody has 3, it's going to be them.
All right. I got you.
All right. So we'll do a little AFC North next week. That will be a good one, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. That's a very interesting with Deshaun now in Cleveland, Kenny Pickett in his second year in Pittsburgh. You got the Bengals, of course, with Burrow, one of the
Yeah,
better
Burrow and
teams
Lamar Jackson. Yeah,
in the
right.
entire division. And then you have Lamar Jackson, which those are probably the two better teams in the division. But you know, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, they're making their moves. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation. All right, man. All right, have a great weekend. Have a great trip. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, my man.